Welcome, everyone, to the Thresholds of Reality, the podcast where we examine unexplained and mysterious events, phenomena, and legends. Today, we are talking with Christina. Christina, what's your last name again?
My last name is Westervelt.
Westervelt, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she is with East Coast Paranormal. And today, we're going to be talking about all of her experience as a paranormal investigator. So strap in as we examine the edges of the unknown. All right, right off the top, this is usually a two-man team. We're missing Kyle today. We had a scheduling mix-up, so hopefully he's able to join us later in the show. But today we have Christina Westervelt from East Coast Paranormal. Get Haunted. You guys are located in New Jersey.
Yeah, so East Coast Paranormal is actually, we have members in New Jersey, PA, and Maryland. And we have one in South Carolina, but...
Well, that's awesome. So is that just where you've grown up? Is that where you live? Why'd you choose the East Coast?
Born and raised in Jersey, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't know. I've never been to Jersey. I'm mostly
You're not missing anything.
So one of the things that we always like to understand about our guests is, how did you get to the point where you decided that this was going to be your life, is seeking out the paranormal?
Well, I'd love to tell you that I had some crazy traumatizing childhood experience, but I didn't. I grew up watching Ghost Hunters and all those shows with my dad. My dad was always big into Halloween. We'd go to all the haunted houses and watch all the horror movies. And we used to go to Salem, Massachusetts every year in October, and we'd do like their ghost tours and stuff like that. So it kind of was just etched into me at a young age. And I was just completely fascinated by it. Then over the years, you have to remember that, like, I'm 35, so 15 years ago or so, a lot of these locations, you couldn't just pay to go and investigate there. It wasn't like a thing yet. Like, it's a fairly like new over the last 10 years or so. A lot of these locations opened up and allowing teams in. So it wasn't really like, I would do like little cemetery investigations or wander around Salem with my K2 meter and stuff like that. But and then over quarantine, I had made friends with a few people, and believe it or not, the only thing you can do during quarantine was go ghost hunting. They still let you do that. So, I joined a different team, and I was with them for about a year and a half, and then all of us kind of split off from that team and started East Coast Paranormal, and that's kind of where we are today.
Well, that's great. So it's kind of the opposite of a traumatic experience. It sounds like a very wholesome experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's so much fun. It's just something I've always been super interested in. And it's kind of cool getting out there and checking it out for myself,
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I wish Kyle were here. Kyle is very much involved in ghost encounters. He actually has kind of a regular interaction with ghosts in his home, and I'm really not very involved with the other side.
Yeah.
I would say I'm probably the newbie of the team, and I've never really had any kind of encounters like that. What is it that someone would look for? Someone like me would look for to know if there's a ghost or a specter or something nearby that might be interacting with us?
I mean, first and foremost, look for logical explanations, because it's not like the movies. It's not like the movies. 9 times out of 10, it's something you can explain. We go to these locations, and some nights they're dead, and some nights they're very active. So 9 times out of 10, it could be nothing, so just I always tell people that are getting into this right now, debunk, 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 um, I am not a very sensitive person. I'm not a medium, I'm not a psychic or anything like that. But
Yeah, same boat.
when I'm in a place that's extremely active, I will get vertigo. Sometimes I get that like spider web feeling, like you would just walk through a spider web. And let me tell you, my team is a very skeptical team. So I'm like, where's the spider webs? We're in some dusty, like old abandoned asylum. There's got to be spider webs somewhere. So everyone experiences it differently. I've been touched, but there's different ways of feeling it. I've been touched where it's felt like electricity, like pins and needles, kind of like you're sticking your hand in like a socket, kind of like not painful, but you'll get that kind of feeling in like a particular limb or body part or whatever. I've also been touched where it feels like a human being just tapped me. So it really depends on what's going on. And I mean, you, like I said, debunk people have houses with bad electrical and stuff like that. They might have high EMF, which can cause them to be paranoid, feel like they're being watched. It makes some people sick that are extremely sensitive to it. So it really is all situational.
Okay. So if I go through that process and I rule out the electrical and I rule out the environmental, I
Hmm.
rule out mold or all those other
Yeah.
things. What are some classic signs that someone would approach you with to say, "Hey, I think I have a haunting, or I think I have a ghost companion, or something"?
I mean, the usual, people hear knocking on the walls, or people will hear disembodied voices. There's so many cold spots where there shouldn't be cold spots. Some people feel breezes. You have people that feel like someone's sitting on the edge of their bed. There's just so many, classic um, ways of haunting, if you want to put it that way. I mean, then you have like poltergeist activity where things are flying off the walls and your cabinets are opening and closing and all that crazy stuff. So, yet again, situational. You know.
Okay. So then walk me through like the last investigation you did. Like what was the step-by-step process of your investigation? What kind of tools do you use? What kind of readings are you looking for? That kind of thing.
So I'll walk you through the last like East Coast Paranormal investigation because I work for Get Haunted as well, and we do public investigations, so we do things a little differently than I would with my team. But we did in April. We did Mid Orange Correctional Facility. Actually, we did Samuel Miller Mansion in May as well. Anyways, this goes with any investigation. But all right, Samuel Miller Mansion. It's out in Columbia, Pennsylvania. We usually get there, unpack our equipment. When I first started off in the field, I had like 3 cases of equipment and everything. I spent like $400 on an ovilus, which is, a very expensive piece of equipment. And now that I've been in the field for a while, like I go with 1 case. I usually bring my recorder. I usually bring my camera, my REM pod. And that's pretty much it. You miss so much paying attention to your equipment. Like there's been so many times that I've had my head buried in my equipment and I've missed shadow figures. I've missed so much of a personal experience. So sometimes now I really like to just be there in the moment and, set and forget my equipment now, which is definitely something I've learned over the years. But we'll get there. We'll usually hang out. me and my team are like family, and even Get Haunted and me, like we're all like they're kind of like two teams, but we're like family. So we always get there, we get settled in, we hang out, whatever, and we'll usually break up into groups and go into different areas, and we'll set up the equipment. I usually, well, I'll sit there and ask some questions and this and that, and if we're not getting any equipment hits, I really like to break out the audio recorder. Oh,
Is this the place you're at?
Samuel Miller? No, that's a different one. This one, that's in Virginia, I think. The one I was at was in Columbia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's totally different. The woman, I think her name was April. She was super nice. She gave us a tour of the place and everything like that. The place was pretty interesting. It wasn't super active, but we definitely had some interesting things happen there. We were in the kids' room, and they had like this like little bumblebee toy. It was like a little light up bumblebee toy that would talk and stuff. And we were in that room for like a good 45 minutes, and I was like, all right. My friend brought her younger son, to investigate with us because he was super interested in it, and he sees all the equipment on the TV shows, and he's like, oh, can we try the spirit box? I'm like, sure. I'm not a huge fan of the SB7 or any of the spirit boxes. I don't use them a lot. But I broke it out, and it was really loud and, and obnoxious. And all of a sudden, like our REM pods were going off and stuff before I broke it out, and everything kind of went dead. And we were like, all right, so what's going on? So my team member was like, is that loud? Is that annoying you? Do you want us to turn that off? Like, and all of a sudden the little bumblebee toy lit up and went bye bye. So and it wasn't going off the whole time we were up there. So it was like the spirit did not like the loud noise. But
That's
we
crazy.
usually just sit there and be in the moment. We try different things and there's different tactics for every location depending on where you're at.
So tell me about your dislike for the spirit box. A lot of the investigators we've had on our show use the spirit box. You say you don't like it.
I like using it for the Estes method. It's kind of been interesting to say the least with
Is
that.
that the blindfold and
The blindfold, and like they'll ask questions and you repeat what you're kind of saying. But I don't know. Like, do you know what like matrixing is? Like visual matrixing. So when you see like elephants in the cloud and stuff like that,
sure.
Or people make patterns out of like people take photos and they think it's a face, but it's like the chipping paint on the wall because you're in a 100-year-old building.
You're seeing something that's not there.
Yeah. So I also think that's a big thing when you listen to EVPs and also like the spirit box, because it pans through all the radio station channels, and when you know what's being asked, you might think you hear an answer to it. You know what I mean? And it's a radio station channels. I'm not saying it's BS. I'm not saying it's useless, because it's absolutely not. I just think that when you do like the Estes method, it kind of filters out that ability to come up with answers, because you don't hear what the questions that are being asked. So I don't know. I really, like I said, I'm a super skeptical investigator. Like, I want freaking evidence. I want evidence. I want something that could just be something that happened to play over the radio. I want like good stuff. It's like I don't know. That's just my style.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. It's like if you're going into a paranormal situation and you're just every speck of dust in the air is a
Don't
ghost
get me
or
started
something.
on orbs.
Yeah, like that's going to discredit you as an investigator. So what are some of the levels of evidence that would convince you? And what are some of the ways that you go about trying to corroborate or otherwise bolster or strengthen the evidence that you obtain?
So here's my problem, right? Most of my evidence has been personal experiences, so it's my evidence. we're doing this as a team for us and our experiences, So, I mean, it's cool. I would love to catch something on film, or we've got Get Haunted. My friend Rob that I work with, he owns Get Haunted. He's like absolute EVP master. We get absolutely brilliant EVPs with him. We were at Mid Orange Correctional Facility, and I was like, "Hey, can you ask, I said, what do you think about my friend Rob? Because he used to work there a lot." And you hear on the recorder, he's a dick. Um, excuse me, getting over a cold. And oh my God, we were at Cashtown Inn outside Gettysburg, and I said, "Oh, it's my mom's birthday today. Can you wish her happy birthday?" And we had happy birthday. So that is pretty awesome. I love getting that type of. I can never get that good EVPs. I'm not gonna lie. I never get. So Rob. People always ask, "What's your favorite piece of equipment?" And I'm always like, Rob, my friend Rob. He's my. Oh my God, losing my voice. Hold on a second before I die.
Sure.
Excuse me. So, but yeah, I wish, that the two most memorable experiences I've had were not things that I can prove. And it pisses me off because they were absolutely crazy. The craziest thing, which actually, it happened at Pennhurst in Spring City, Pennsylvania, and we're actually going to be back there on Sunday. So we'll be at Pennhurst. We'll be going live on the East Coast Paranormal Facebook group page. My friend Chris Sanders will be there. We're going live on his TikTok as well. So definitely check that out. But we were in the tunnels underneath the property. It was the Rockwell Tunnel. And a few of my friends and I were down there, and we had been down there for a little bit doing, like asking questions. We had our equipment out, this and that. And two of my other team members came down, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Nothing." So they were down there with us for like a half hour, and all of a sudden, and it was cold out, so we all had jackets and stuff on. And my buddy Rich is sitting right across from me in this tunnel, like right across from me. And all of a sudden, he goes, "Ow!" And I was like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I don't know." So he pulls his sleeve up, and he's got top and bottom teeth prints on his arm. I was sitting right in front of him. He could have not have bit himself. And I don't know if you have kids or whatever animals, but if you've ever been bit, like I've been bit by a dog, and when you get bit, like it's like kind of flesh colored, and then after like 30 seconds or so, it starts to swell and turn red. So like as we're looking at his arm, it's like starting to swell and turn red. So it's not like he could have bit it when he came down earlier, right before he came down or anything. It was absolutely crazy. And I don't know. I really wish it was like 3 a.m. All my equipment was dead. My cameras were dead. I had it pointing. It wouldn't have done me any good because I had it pointing down the hallway anyways, not even at us. But that was really cool experience. That was probably one of the craziest things. And the thing about Pennhurst is they were very well known when they were opened, having patients that bit. And one of the doctors was notorious for punishing them and having their teeth yanked out. So, yeah.
That's wild.
And it was really funny because my friend Rich was like, "Hey, who bit me?" Like he wasn't like, no one freaked out, nothing. We were just so like amazed that this happened that we were like, "What is going on?" And that was really cool. And people always ask me, "Do you think it was like a evil spirit or a malevolent spirit?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." A lot of these people at Pennhurst were mute. They couldn't talk. Some of them, that might have been the only way that they knew how to get someone's attention. So just because you're getting scratched or bit or something at a location doesn't mean it's bad. It just might be all they can figure out how to do to communicate,
Sure. Yeah, Kyle, the co-host of the show, he often talks about getting scratches from ghosts. But yeah, that's really intense. Getting bit by a ghost, that's That's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so he got bit by the ghost, and it kind of brings to mind. I'm not asking if you have answers, right? But it
Hmm.
kind of leads me to the question, which is, uh, do we continue in basically the same activities after we die? If this individual was a biter when they were alive, and they're still a biter, do they still kind of operate with the same mental incapacity or
Yeah. No, it's
after they
absolutely
die?
it's a great question. I mean, if I guess we're not going to know till we die, you
Right. Right. We won't know until we get there. But, a
know?
lot of times we have this kind of hope that the afterlife is something better than what we're experiencing now. And maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's just a continuation of all the same things you were
Well, I
doing.
sure hope not. I don't want to work in the afterlife. I better not be stuck at work when I die.
Yeah. I hope when I die, it's on a dodgeball court. That's kind of what my thing is.
Ah, you like dodgeball?
But enough
I
about me.
I almost died a lot in high school playing dodgeball, so in gym class.
So, so you had the bite experience at Penhurst. Any other
Sorry about
experiences
that.
that really stick out in your mind as
Yes.
ones that?
In January, and I've been there tons of times. If anyone ever gets a chance, check out the Shanley Hotel. It's in Napanoch, New York. It's about an hour and 20 minutes from me. Awesome, awesome location. Kelly, the owner, and Stephanie, who runs the investigations there, are absolutely amazing. We do a lot of Get Haunted events there as well. But me and my team, East Coast Paranormal, we rented out the place for the evening, and you stay there. There's rooms and everything. Um, and that place always seems to be like they always gives you something. Like it might be dead when you're investigating, but later on that night when you're sleeping, something's going on, you know? So the year before we were there, I stayed in the Rose Room. It's the only room that has its own bathroom. And me and my friend Megan, Megan was sleeping. My friend Rich already passed out, so he didn't even hear any of this. But we were, yes, that is the Shanley. It's such a cool place.
Is that the
Um,
Amityville Horror? Is that what that is based on?
I
It's
don't think
just like that house.
no, no, it's an old place, but it's definitely not based on Amity.
Okay.
But so I mean, there might be like just kind of like the style of houses for that era, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so there was like a rumored death in that bathroom, and I was laying there trying to fall asleep, and something was just walking around the bathroom for like 45 minutes, just tap 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 tap, and then the door. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm just like, I just took my melatonin, and I want to go to sleep. Thank you, but could you have done this like 2 hours ago? You know. And finally, it got so loud that my friend Megan woke up, and she goes, "Hey, Chris," and I was like, yeah. She's like, do you hear that? And I was like, I've been listening to this for 45 minutes. Like, yeah. And it actually, she sat up and she's like, what the hell? You know, and it stopped for like a good 10 minutes. And then it started up again when we were trying to go back to sleep. Um, so the following year, this past January, I stayed in the same room. My friend's son, Anthony, who's on my team, he's our youngest team member. He stayed in the room with me and he went to bed before all we did. So he was passed out. And I went back. It was like 4 a.m. I went back in the room. I got changed and laid down. And I set my camera up facing the bathroom this time because I knew like I had that whole stuff happening last time I was there. And then like I sleep terrible at locations, terrible, 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 especially at the Shanley. For some reason, I can't sleep. I drug myself with melatonin and muscle relaxers, everything, and I can't sleep to save my life. So I woke up an hour later and my camera was dead or whatever, but it's fine. Those batteries don't last very long. And I went back to sleep for a little bit, and around 6 a.m., I woke up. At least I think I woke up. That's what kind of bothers me about this is I don't know if I was awake or not when this happened. It felt like I was awake. So it felt like I heard the bed flex. I heard the bed flex. I was like, I'm like a side sleeper, and it felt like I was just pinned down to the bed. Like I couldn't move. at all. So I'm looking around, I'm like, what the hell? Like, like when you go stay at hotels and like the comforters are for lack of a better word, crunchy.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
They're not soft, cozy comforters like at your house. I swear to God, I felt the bed flex. I could like hear the comforter like kind of crunch under like pressure. And I was like, so I went to scream for my friend Anthony in the room with me, and nothing would come out of my mouth. And finally, after like I couldn't tell you how long, probably like 20 seconds or so, like finally I was like, all right. So I got up, I put my shoes on, I put my sweatshirt on, I went down to the common area and I sat there for 3 hours. So the rest of my team woke up. I was like, nope, nope, nope.
So sleep paralysis demon.
I mean, I don't like the word demon, but I don't suffer from like clinical sleep paralysis. So that being the excuse for that would be strange for me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It was interesting. I don't know if I dreamt it. I don't know if I was awake. It all felt so real. I don't remember like waking up from it. Like I just remember being,
Yeah.
But it spooked the hell out of me. I'm so glad it happened. And like, hindsight, it was kind of cool. It's really interesting because that's why we're there. We're there for these experiences. That's why we do this. So I'm glad it happened to me. It makes me a more experienced investigator. But it scared the crap out of me. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't scare easily. I don't. I'm one of those jerks that are like, what's the most haunted room in this place? And they're like, oh, it's the boiler room. All right, lock me in the boiler room by myself for an hour. Come get me later. Like that's how I usually am. So for something to shake me like that, it says a lot.
Wow, that's really scary. Um, do you often have experiences that kind of put you on your heels and put you on the defensive like that, or is it
Nope.
usually you're kind of in control of the situation? You
Mhm,
feel like you've
mhm.
got a good command of
Oh
the
yeah, I
spirits or
never
whatever.
feel threatened. I never feel threatened. I don't ever get scared. It's kind of weird. Um, I'm just like so fascinated. There's more fascination than fear when I go investigating.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that scared the crap out of me.
Have you ever done any investigations at like old prisons or other old buildings? Like, what's that? If you
um,
have, what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Penhurst Asylum is my number one place. That's an old,
I guess that is kind of a prison then.
well, it's an asylum. It's a mental asylum, not a prison, but still, I like to categorize the asylums and the prisons in the same because those are my favorite.
Okay.
I don't know. I just love these old, huge, massive structures. There's something about the property and the buildings. It's just like really cool. We've done Mid Orange Correctional Facility, which is in Warwick, New York. That place is huge. It was on a couple episodes of Ghost Nation. It's actually called the Hudson Sports Complex now. Uh, Christian Fuchs is a soccer player. He bought it out and he made it into like a soccer camp. And he was renovating the main building and some of the outside buildings, the little small ones on the outskirts. And he was having a hard time getting people to stay and work on it. Like the contractors didn't want to stay because they were all having this crazy shit happen to them. So
Really?
Mid Orange is super, super active. It's one of those places where I get those tingles. I remember now my equipment, I like to use it with myself. So if I have a personal experience, all right, I'm human. We can psych ourselves out. Maybe, I did it, I imagined something or I got creeped out. So I got the chills. You know what I mean? Like, but
Mhm.
when my equipment validates my personal experiences, then that's what I live for. I remember having my REM pod on the floor in the hallway in the A3 building, which is a small building on the outskirts of the property. And we were investigating or whatever. I was standing in the hallway, and all of a sudden, it felt like I stuck my hand in an electrical socket from head to toe. My like hair was standing on edge on like my whole body, and right after this happened, like right after my REM pod starts going off right in front of me. So I was like, huh, that is interesting. I'm like, that's kind of cool. So Mid-Orange is awesome. I definitely recommend that place.
Did he get it renovated, or did he have to shut it down?
No, I don't know how. I mean, they're actually just doing the paranormal thing in those areas. They turn the fields into soccer fields. So that if you go there, the fields are all soccer fields. They have like the main admin building where they have like all that stuff going on, but they left the main jail building and all the small ones on the outskirts untouched. So for now, at least,
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like the East Coast has a lot of really old buildings that are subject to these kinds of hauntings. Do you do you know of any hot spots around the country, or do you just stay close to the East Coast because there are a lot of hot spots?
No, I would love to get out, I would love to get out and go to different spots and different areas of the country. It's just, gas is kind of expensive right now.
Yeah, you got that right. What are some of the places on your bucket list?
Waverly.
Waverly.
Waverly Hills, yes, absolutely Waverly. I want to get out, even though it's still East Coast, but I want to get out to the old hospital on College Hill in West Virginia, West Virginia Penitentiary, which I was supposed to go to the other month, but I ended up having something come up. There's a lot of, the Queen Mary in California. I'd love to go to Alcatraz. But if you want to talk about really traveling, I would love to get out to like Romania and do like like all the castles that Vlad the Impaler stayed at and stuff like that. I'd love to do like a cool tour like that. It'd be so awesome to investigate that.
Chad says, "I ain't afraid of no ghosts." Yep.
That's so funny you're talking about DMT because I've heard people talk about that and like supposedly they see elves and stuff. I don't know. I'm good, but I've heard stories, so
Yeah, we're not advocating any particular drug use.
no, but it's what is released in your brain when you die. So it is kind of it is an interesting theory. But
we did a discussion about MK Ultra last week, and lots of drugs being circulated to Americans unwittingly. When you do investigations, do you ever find that a lot of these folks were victims of trauma? What is it that causes them to stick around, do you think?
oh my, it's funny you talk about drugs and trauma and the spirits and stuff like that because Mid-Orange Correctional Facility was it was a prison. It was like a rehab. It was actually like a rehab center. And it was also like a state school for boys or something like that. But we actually have a younger member on the team that he's definitely got abilities. He's definitely got some type of mediumship abilities, and he doesn't really know what to do with them yet. But we find them latching on to him a lot. So actually at Mid-Orange, and he didn't even know like the history of the place like that. He started shivering and manically scratching at himself and crying to the point that me and my friend Megan had to hold his ass down on the benches on the bleachers outside. They had to get him out of one of the buildings. We ran over and we had to hold his arms down so he didn't scratch himself and hurt himself. And he was having like classic like withdrawal symptoms. And I know he's not into anything like that. He was just having like something like one of the spirits that must have been like going through withdrawal or something must have latched onto him because it was absolutely crazy. I know him very well and I know he would never fake something like that. So that was just a kind of crazy experience as well.
Yeah, that's kind of goes to my question of, how does a spirit go through physical withdrawals, or unless it has already experienced that?
Exactly. Like I said, they had a rehab. They had addicts there that were so, I guess it's like kind of reliving its, life. I mean, I don't know, but that was crazy.
Well, yeah,
There's so many
one
things.
of the things that we've kind of come across is maybe two different types of apparitions or specters. One of them being an active or intelligent type of spirit, and another one being
Like
kind
the
of a
residual.
recording or one that just kind of goes through the
Hmm.
motions over and over
Hmm.
again or stuck in a
Hmm.
moment. Have you come across that?
Yeah. I mean, we, it, you got to see if they're going to interact with you. You have to gauge it by to kind of tell the difference. But when you have ones that are like seem to be pacing, or like on like a recorded like habit, like sometimes you'll hear footsteps going from the front door to wherever in the house or in the building or and stuff like that. Sometimes you can kind of just tell, um, if you can't get it to respond, to react to anything, it's not acknowledging your presence, then it's probably a residual type situation. And it makes sense. Like, I mean, if this place meant something to someone, that why wouldn't they be imprinted on the property, um it's like this field is crazy because there's just so many theories and so many questions and just no way to answer them, it's
Right. Does the young fellow who's got some medium affinity or medium, uh, expression, uh, does he offer any insight? Is he able to kind of dial in and figure out what's going on with the spirits that you come across?
I don't think he's like quite there yet. And I'm really, and people who know me, I am so skeptical of psychics and mediums and this and that. Like, because I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm just saying that there's a lot of phonies out there. So I'm really careful with that. But sometimes we'll be investigating. He's like, "There's someone over there," and I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "He's like, there's someone over there," and like he just looks nervous. He's like, "There's someone." I'm like, "All right." Um, Sometimes he can kind of get a feeling if they're, what the emotion coming off of the spirit. But he's definitely like at the early stages of um his gift.
Got it. What is the type of call that you get that would get you jumping out of bed saying, "We got to get on this"? Like someone calls you up and they say, "Christina, um, I've got I've got a ghost that walks up and down my hall. Sometimes it screams, sometimes it moves things from the pantry to the bed." Uh, what is the call that you're jumping out of bed to go check out?
I mean, I personally don't do a lot of residentials. I'm very weird about residentials because I'm more comfortable around the dead than living when it comes. And I just mean, like, when you go into people's houses, you don't know what kind of situation, you don't know if they're crazy, you know what I mean? Like, and if it is some type of really evil, malevolent, which I don't like the word demon, but if it seems to be like some sort of demonic activity, I'm like, "Ah, I'm good. I'm just doing this for fun. Like, go call my buddy Eric. He's in Nesper. He works with the Warren family. Like, go they handle the demons, not me. But no, I don't know, the first thing is you make sure these people aren't nuts. You know what I mean? Like, you need to vet the people that are reaching out to you first.
And how do
um
you do that?
I mean, you can't tell for
What kind of
sure,
questions are you
but
asking?
have a conversation with them, talk to them, kind of get an idea. Like, don't just be like, you answer the Facebook message and be like, "Yeah, I'm on my way." We my a few of my team members are like doing residentials, so I usually have them take care of that. But I'm nervous with residential cases because I'm not psychic. I'm not, um I can't cross spirits over, so it's a fine line between, me going over there, is that going to make it worse for them? And also, you know, you don't like, you have so many people, and I feel so bad that these people go to these people's houses and tell them they have demons and shit, and these people are scared, so scared, and it's not right because no one freaking knows that that's a demon. So like, it's not cool for these investigators to go to these families' houses and start, you know, telling them all this crazy shit and scaring the crap out of them. The only thing I can offer, and I try, you know, you always have to try to be careful when you go to someone's house. Like I said, you don't want to stir stuff up. You don't want to make it worse for them. But sometimes it's enough for them just to be validated, for them to know they're not crazy, to for us to come up with some evidence like, yeah, you know, something's going on here. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm not sure how to help you. I can probably point you in the right direction of someone that can, but something's definitely going on here and you're not crazy, you know. And sometimes that is just means the world to the clients, you know.
Yeah. Well, you said you don't want to make it worse. So how are some ways that you could make it worse? What does that mean?
I don't know. I mean, there's so many. I don't want to piss the spirits off, so they ramp up activity and make these people even more scared. You know,
Has that ever
some.
happened?
I mean, me personally, no, but I've heard of it happening, and also sometimes when you give the attention and the energy to the spirits, they start to get more curious. Hey, look, these people can they're trying to talk to me, you know. And you know, that's not what these not everyone wants that, you know. Not everyone
Right.
who's calling is like, you have to treat it like differently than when I go to Penhurst with my team and have a good time, you know.
Mm.
So I usually just leave that to the pros, you know.
Yeah. So if one of the things you said earlier kind of struck me as funny. You said sometimes the ghosts are dead, sometimes they're alive. And I think it's funny that you're criticizing ghosts for being dead, first off.
I know it's kind of, well, I know it's like a, you Penhurst, for example, right? I've been there like 8 times. Love the place. It's about 2 hours from my house. It was like home base for my team. We used to do Penhurst all the time, and then they started doing public investigations during the weekend. So the only time you can get private for your team is Sunday through Thursday. So that's why we're doing this Sunday, because no one's got work on Monday, so we don't have to
Right.
take off for work. Um, but there's been times we've gone there and it's been very quiet. Not a lot of activity. The Mayflower building, there's always in the Mayflower building, when you're up on the top floor, you'll be on one side of the building and you'll hear walking and like shuffling on the other side. And then when you go over there to check it out, you'll hear it where you just were. So like, there's always something up there that kind of plays with you. But for the most part, you know, sometimes I go there and there's really nothing going on. And then other times you go there and you get freaking bit. So, you know, as an
Yeah, right.
yeah, so it's like patience. You have to remember that for people who aren't in the field and all they know are these TV shows, is A, some of them aren't legit, and B, the ones that are, they were there for 1 or 2 weeks filming to get you that 45 minutes of a TV show. You know, it wasn't like they were there for a few hours and got all this evidence and great. You know, they spend weeks at locations. So it's not always active. What it is, maybe it's the people, whoever you're with, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's the moon. Who freaking knows? You know, like no one knows, but there's conditions, I guess, that'll make the activity more, which is funny because they say a lot of times when it's bad out, when it's like raining and thundering and like the whole like electromagnetic in the, you know, atmosphere will sometimes ramp up spirit activity. But I've gotten really lucky, and most nights I haven't investigated when it's been bad out, which is kind of interesting now that I think about it.
Yeah. Well, you said something that brings to
Mhm.
mind the idea of stereotypes or misconceptions. Um, when you're watching a ghost hunter show, the footage that they get is condensed down to 45 minutes, right?
Mhm.
And you're saying, well, took them probably 2 weeks of filming to get enough material for that 45-minute show.
Mhm.
What are some other misconceptions you think people have about what you do?
I mean, it's not like the movies. It's totally not like the movies. A lot of times it's very subtle, very, very subtle things that you pick up on. There's no one's getting possessed and spitting pea soup. Um, I've had team members have gotten jumped before, and when we call jumped, is I personally haven't had the problem, but I don't even know if I want to call it possessed, but the spirit will take they'll lose 10 minutes. So my friend will be investigating me with this and that. She seems kind of zoned out in the corner or whatever, and like 10 minutes later she don't know what she just did the last 10 minutes. So sometimes like they take over. I've had that happen to a few team members, and we usually call that getting jumped. I personally have never had that before. I know people that have had that happen, and they're usually quite distraught afterwards. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that was portrayed, I think, in one of the Ghostbusters movies. I think is the second one where Dan Aykroyd's character is just like staring into the painting, and he kind of loses a couple minutes just getting jumped, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I mean, I know people who've seen full body apparitions, but they're not very common. Not common. Sometimes you'll get shadow figures. And I don't see a lot of people. It's usually out of the I don't know why it's usually out of the corner of your eye, which really doesn't sit right with me because like I'm such a skeptical investigator that like we were coming out of the Devon building at Penhurst. It was me, the one girl, I'm friends with Deirdre who works at Penhurst, and my friend Rich. And we were walking back to the Mayflower, and it's like in like the woods are right and like the wood lines right there. There's like the property with the pathway and it's all lit up, and all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I see like something black come flying out of the wood line. There's like a raised walkway with like bars, hand, like a like walkway with
A rail. Yeah.
railing. There you go. Thank you. And it looked like it came flying out of the woods, grabbed the railing, like lunged over, like jumped over it, and went through the field by the playground. And I just caught it out of now corner of my eye. If it was just me, I would have been like, it's just corner of my eye, whatever. But all three of our heads turned at the same time, and we were like,
What was
was that? And we were looking for deer. We couldn't find anything. So that was kind of cool. So it's not like a ghost is going to jump out in front of you and do the jig.
But it's not going to happen, right? It's just not likely.
It's not common, I suppose, but it's definitely not like the movies. Some people are like, I do public events, and I have friends that work at Penhurst. I have friends that work at locations, and luckily all of our guests have been great for Get Haunted, but there's some people that have gone to Penhurst that my friend was telling me about, and they got like so mad that nothing happened all night and they wanted their money back and this and that. And it's like, what do you think, this is some kind of freaking circus that like these ghosts are obligated to come out and like freaking dance for you? Like, no, you're investigating. It's not always gonna happen. Like these people are like, nothing happened. People get so mad, and it's like, no, that's not how it really is. That's not what you do. That's not what happens. Like sometimes you don't get anything, but
So what's the difference between a public event and a private event?
So the East Coast Paranormal, my team, we'll rent out the place just for us. So it's just the team there that night. No one else.
That's private.
So yeah. And then public event, like when we do with Get Haunted, is we'll rent out a location and we'll sell tickets. And people can pay to come investigate there with us, and we'll do groups, and we'll lead we cater to all sorts of investigating styles or stages, or we have veterans that come and investigate with us. We have people that are new, and that's what's kind of important about these public investigations is that there's people like Penhurst is over $1,200 just for 10 people. People who are just dabbling in paranormal, they don't have a team or they have a small team or this or that. They can't afford to rent Penhurst out for themselves. So they can come do the public event and investigate with, however we try. Get Haunted tries to keep our groups to a minimum. It makes for a better quality investigation. But it's like, it gives opportunity for people who are just curious or can't afford these big locations. It's hard. I mean, we were looking at Fort Delaware and they wanted over $3,000, which is,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. So when you're doing these public events, you said you like to keep the groups to a minimum. Is there a maximum size, and then is there a fee that you're charging people to be a part of these public events? And
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It all depends. For Get Haunted, it's a business. My friend Rob opened. It's an actual LLC, and these places aren't cheap. So we have to charge to cover the location. You have to charge the overhead. He's got to pay for insurance for the company just in case something happens to them at this location. Then one tries to sue him. There's a lot of things that go into being able to put on these events. It depends on the location, the size. Like White Hill Mansion, great little place in New Jersey. Absolutely love it. We usually keep it to about 14 and we'll do about 2 groups. We'll cut them like groups of 7, one upstairs, one downstairs kind of thing. Mid Orange, we haven't done an event there yet, but you can fit 40 people into that place, split them up into 5 groups and no one would know each other was there because it's so big. So it really depends on the location and how many people you can fit without disturbing each other's evidence.
It sounds like a really great way to create some fun memories. I know my sister-in-law and my nieces are going on an East Coast ghost tour. And some of the places you've mentioned are places they're looking to go. So what is the way that somebody would get in contact with you or your group in order to sign up for these public tours?
So if you go on to there's 2, we have the business Facebook page. If you just Google Get Haunted, it'll come up. or even just in search in the Facebook search bar, Get Haunted. And also we have the Get Haunted Network group page also, which is great. It's like, so if you go to the events tab on there, the events that we have coming up are all listed. You can buy tickets, this and that. You're also welcome to reach out to me. We're doing our next event. It's actually sold out. It's going to be on the 9th at SK Pierce Mansion in Massachusetts. I've never been there, so I'm really looking forward to that. We have Hillview Manor that's coming up August 6th. That's about 6 hours away from me in Pennsylvania, and it's going to be a hike, but I've never been there. That place is supposedly 90,000 square feet. Yep, right there. You got it. So that's SK Pierce. We'll be there next weekend. The place is so cool looking. I can't wait to get in there. But Hillview supposedly is huge. So I'm super looking forward to that event as well. I'm not looking forward to the ride. November 5th, we have the Old Hospital on College Hill event as well that we're doing. And I think we're going to be squeezing in a Shanley and White Hill event again before the end of the year as well.
So you said the SK Pierce Mansion is all full.
It's all full, but Hillview's got plenty of tickets left.
Hillview is still wide open. That's happening in August 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Old Hospital on College Hill is happening November.
Yep, November 5th.
That's probably still wide open?
Yes.
All right. So everybody, make sure you check out Get Haunted's Facebook page and sign up for their events. We have audience members from all over the country, a lot of East Coasters, Midwesters. So I'm sure that this is absolutely vital information for them.
Yeah, and we are already starting booking events for 2023. So I'm super looking forward to that. I don't even know where they are. Rob's been keeping it a big secret. I'm waiting for him to tell me. Also, just a little thing. uh, my friend Rob, who owns Get Haunted, is now one of the executives of world's largest ghost hunt. So, world's largest ghost hunt. If you go to nationalghosthuntingday.com, you can sign your team up every year on September 24th. Everyone from around the world gets together, investigates, and same night, and we broadcast it. This is my first year involved as well, but they broadcast it. It's going to be probably YouTube, but last year they had people in Egypt, they had people in Japan, they had people all around the world. So you just go on there, there's a small fee, you sign up your team and you'll get a time slot. So it's over 24 hours. I think each team gets 40 minutes or something like that. So you'll be able to go live on the world's largest ghost hunt. It's a really cool concept. This is my first year involved. I'm super excited. I will actually be at the headquarters of the operation with Rob and the Get Haunted crew at Penhurst that night. So,
Wow.
yep.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great way to not only increase your experience as a ghost hunter, but also unite with kind of the network of ghost hunters.
Mm-hmm. Get yourself out there, you get exposure for your team. We have a good group of people helping us out with that this year to make sure everything goes smoothly. So,
Bishop's Manor. Okay. Well, that's fantastic. Well, what are some of the ways that people can follow you? Do you have social media, Twitter?
Yes. You can find me on Facebook if you just search Christina Westervelt. Also, we have the East Coast Paranormal Facebook group page. You just type in East Coast Paranormal and Facebook search, it'll come up. I do have Instagram. It's at Wicked, WIKIDCHIK. Also, the team has Instagram as well, which I run. It's at _ East Coast Paranormal _ Definitely check out the Get Haunted events. The socials there, Get Haunted's on Instagram, on Facebook. We all have a TikTok and everything like that. Just go into whatever platform of your choosing and type in East Coast Paranormal or Get Haunted, and you will find us. Also, if you are bored on a Sunday night when we're actually doing it, if you pop on over to the It's Haunted Network, I do a podcast with my friends Chris Sanders and Dave Childers. We have some awesome guests on every week. So that I'm very happy that they asked me to come board with them and do that.
Well, that is awesome. Christina, thank you so much for joining us today. All of our viewers are going to check out East Coast Paranormal on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn, Instagram,
Yep.
Twitter, all of those social media sites.
Yep. We'll be live Sunday night from Penhurst at some point.
And we'll be tuning in. That's fantastic. Awesome. I'm going to give it a follow right now.
Awesome.
All right. Everybody else will do the same. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, make sure that you keep on examining the edges of the unknown.